Hey there, creepy peeps. Welcome to my channel if you're new here, and welcome back if you're returning, and just welcome back in general. It feels like I haven't uploaded in 2 years and it's only been a week. Well, technically like a week and a half, I guess. It did, however, end up being a great week not to upload anything. With the election taking as long as it did, I could not focus on a single thing. So this worked out perfectly. On that note, I would love to thank my creepy patron peeps for letting me spiral in our group chat. So thank you so much for that and for supporting this channel. If you want to find out the perks to being a creepy patron peep, you can follow that link in the description. We also hit 7,000 creepy peeps this week. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. You guys are the reason that this channel is still here. So thank you. For any newbies that joined in October, I normally post videos on Wednesdays and Saturdays. And you should definitely follow me on Twitter and or Instagram for updates about like live streams, does this offend you, things like that. All right, so I'm going to do things a little bit differently this time as opposed to how I normally do my monthly recaps. We're gonna combine what I watched and what I read, because I barely had time to read anything with 31 Days of Halloween going on, and my Letterboxd is mostly full of things I watched for 31 Days of Halloween, which I have full reviews of. So let's start with the books. I'm gonna talk about the Creepy Book Club pick for October, because this portion will be over quickly, as this is the first time in the two-ish years I've had this creepy book club that I have DNF'd a creepy book club pick. This is a piss poor advertisement for it, but I do have a book club on Goodreads. The link is always in the description if you want to join us and read a spooky book each month, or if you just need like occasional inspiration for your TBR. So our October pick for Creepy Book Club was The Boatman's Daughter by Andy Davidson. Alone since her father was killed when she was just a child, Miranda Crabtree has kept her head down and her eyes up, ferrying contraband for a mad preacher and his declining band of followers to make ends meet and to protect an old witch and a secret child from harm. But dark forces, both human and supernatural, are at work in the bayou, conspiring to disrupt the rhythms of Miranda's peculiar and precarious life. When the preacher makes an unthinkable demand, it sets Miranda on a desperate, dangerous path, forcing her to consider what she will sacrifice to keep her loved ones safe. I wanted to like this book so badly, but I just could not get into it, and I know it's because of the characters. I just did not feel a connection to a single one of them. I felt like the book spends way more time describing like the setting and the way people look rather than any kind of like meaningful thing about the characters. So it's like I didn't understand the motivation for anybody, really. Things were just kind of happening. It was almost like, at least what I read, because I stopped reading at page 240 out of 400, so I got a little more than halfway through. You're just watching this stuff play out, but you have no other context for the characters or anything, so it's like you don't know these people, you don't feel a connection to these people, you're just watching this thing happen. That's what it felt like reading this. I thought the like writing itself, like the actual literal writing, was very descriptive and lovely. It just would have been nice to have that along with some character development. The only other two things I got around to reading in October were some graphic novels. The first is a middle grade graphic novel, and maybe you think that's weird for a 28-year-old woman to occasionally read middle grade books. But also 2020 has been the roughest year, and I just wanted something cute and spoopy to read and quick to read also. Also, if I could quickly and kind of aggressively defend myself, I do work in a bookstore, so I feel like it's beneficial to me to read at least some of the new like middle grade books, so I can, you know, recommend them to parents for their kids, right? Anyways, the graphic novel in question I read is Seance Tea Party by Raymina Yi. Probably said her name wrong. So I'll just read the summary off the back for you really quick. It says, growing up is terrible. No one has time to play outside or use their imagination or do anything fun. Who wants that? Not Laura. She's determined to still have fun even after her friends all seem to fade away with their new interests and new friends. A magical tea party introduces Laura to Alexa, the ghost that haunts her house. Alexa will be a kid forever, but what will happen as Laura continues to get older? It's just a super cute, spoopy story. It tackles themes of like growing up and reconciling this idea of like trying to fit in and be cool with the stuff that you like to do, and being afraid of kind of growing up because you think that maybe means you have to like let go of all these things that you love. And obviously in this book, as you can probably guess, that's, you know, we come to the conclusion that you don't have to do that just to grow up, you know? It's just super cute and fun, and it's like set like in fall and Halloween time, so there's a lot of like really pretty and cute like fall scenes, and it's just cute and lovely, and it's about friendship, and there's a few LGBTQ plus themes in there which I really like also. For what it's worth, I give this a 4 out of 5. And this should come as no surprise to anybody if you were aware of this graphic novel's existence, and that is Trick or Treat. Michael Dougherty presents Trick or Treat, Sam's 10th anniversary collection. I just saw it this year. It showed up in my store all majestic and just sitting there on the shelving cart, never to touch the shelf outside of the receiving room because I immediately picked it up and bought it. So the first half of the graphic novel is an adaptation of the original film, all done by different artists too, different illustrators, so that's really cool to see them in like these different art styles, but obviously familiar stories if you've seen the movie. And then the second half is totally new stories, which I loved. All, of course, still featuring Sam, the Halloween demon that we all know and love. They aren't all connected on the same night in the same town like the original movie is. Obviously Sam is the connection between them, but I still really liked them. I thought the stories were super creative and they spanned different time periods, and again different illustrators for each one, which I thought was really cool. So like if Michael Dougherty was gonna make a sequel to Trick or Treat and use some of the stories, like some of the new stories in here, would not be mad at it. Obviously, I love anything that Michael Dougherty does, so this is a 5 out of 5. So, moving on to the movies, like I mentioned earlier, I'm not gonna bother going through my Letterboxd diary like I normally do because the majority of it is stuff from 31 Days of Horrorween, which I reviewed in full already. I'll link the playlist up here if you want it. And then another good portion of it was just like my normal October watches, which are pretty self-explanatory, and I'm sure if you just look through my Letterboxd diary you can figure out which ones those are. First up is Hello Mary Lou Prom Night 2, which I only watched because my patrons were talking about it in our group chat and they were making it sound like so interesting and underrated, so I was just like, I got a free evening, let's watch this. I've only seen the original Prom Night and its unfortunate remake one time. I don't remember a lot, although what I do remember, I can tell that the sequel is just completely unrelated in pretty much every single way. Do you like how it's just like randomly a possession story? Like the sequel to this slasher movie is paranormal, supernatural, like there's possession. It kind of has like dream-like sequences that are reminiscent of A Nightmare on Elm Street, and there's even like kind of like some Carrie-esque themes in there. It was fun for what it was, and I also am obsessed with the fact that Mary Lou's catchphrase was "See you later, alligator." Iconic. 3.5 out of 5 for me. Oh, Hubie Halloween, how I love thee. Let me count the waves. In such a stressful month on my channel, in my personal life, and here in the United States, Hubie Halloween came to me at the right time. We watched this for a patron movie night and it was so incredibly enjoyable as a group watch, especially the first time. It was just perfect, silly, mindless Halloween fun that I needed and I think we all needed. It just genuinely brought me so much joy to watch such a silly movie with a group of awesome people and just like chill for 90 minutes. Is it perfect? No. Is it a little bit weird to see Adam Sandler still kind of doing the Waterboy shtick like in 2020? Yeah. But I needed it. So I think we all needed it this year. So I don't know. I really enjoyed my time watching it. So I gave it a 4.5 out of 5. Then I watched Books of Blood at the request of my assistant manager where I work. So shout out to him. Might be like the first Clive Barker anything that I'm really into. Don't get me wrong though. Like I don't hate Clive Barker things, like all of the adaptations and things. I'm just not like really into it. That's all. I really like that this was an anthology that was interwoven together. The stories kind of overlap and are related to each other in ways that I won't spoil because just in case you haven't seen it. I love anthologies in general, but I really, really love them when they take place in like a common area, in a common time frame, and they overlap or, you know, interact with each other. I especially loved the ending, which I won't spoil, but it's definitely dark and morbid, which I really, really liked. I do think the private investigators little bit was like the weakest. They were kind of like the bookends. But to me, they seemed like just a vehicle to get to the ending. And I'm mostly talking about them at the end, not really when they like kick off the movie. I just feel like by the end, they didn't add anything to it. It was more like, let's just get them to this location and get them out of the way as quickly as possible so we can like end the movie. Like we don't really need them beyond that. But other than that though, I thought it was a really enjoyable watch. The 4 out of 5 from me. Next, I mean on my Letterboxd where it falls is technically when I finished it, but I watched The Haunting of Bly Manor. I thought I wasn't even going to be able to start watching this until November, but I just couldn't resist, so I snuck in episodes here and there and just stayed up late a couple nights to to binge it. I loved it. I thought it was great. I don't know if this is controversial or not because I haven't really looked into like how people are comparing the two, but I like this a little bit more than Hill House, to be honest. I think it helped me like with so many characters, just like there was in Hill House. I liked that Bly Manor was very central to Bly Manor. Obviously it did go other places. We weren't just in the manor the whole time, but everything was like centered around the house. So I think it worked really well, I think, to keep my attention. Huge spoiler alert, so please mute until I give you a signal. I am conflicted over the ending though, because on one hand, I feel like this is ultimately just another entry in the Kill Your Gays collection, which is just a tired trope. But on the other hand, like I love a good tragic gothic romance story, and this was definitely that. I kind of have a love-hate relationship with the end, and it did make me sob like a baby. Okay, spoilers over. I give it a 4.5 out of 5. And finally, a few of you were asking me if I had seen The Craft Legacy, and I did. Watched it as a movie night with my patrons, and it was fun to watch as a group. The biggest problem I had, I don't know about everybody else so far, but I think this tried way too hard to relate itself to The Craft. I think it would have been way stronger as its own witchy movie. I think they spent way too much time on that, like on throwing in all those like nods to The Craft and not nearly enough time with like the underlying message of the movie. There's that aspect, of course, of female power and how women and female presenting people can use that power to dismantle the patriarchy. And with that, about half of you probably just stopped watching. I really liked that message though, especially because they included men in it. There are some moments, they are very, very short, but they are still there, that highlight some of the ways men suffer from a patriarchal society, the main big problem being toxic masculinity, of course. So I really liked that inclusion because, you know, the patriarchy isn't just about like repressing women or female presenting people. It's about all of us. It affects all of us. And I was just, I felt so let down because I feel like they could have done so much more with that. And the character development clearly hit the cutting room floor with this. Our main coven was so one-dimensional that I could not tell you a single one of those characters' names right now. Which was a huge, huge shame because I really, really loved the representation in the movie. I just think like it just would have been so iconic if the filmmakers had let us care about them even a little bit. It gets 2 stars for the attempt, but overall I was disappointed. Oh, that's it. Hopefully this video isn't too long and terrible for you. So let me know some of your favorite things that you watched or read in the month of October in the comment section down below. And I will see you Saturday with a brand new video. Until then, stay strange. Bye.